Oh, faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books from around the world. Hi, this is Zima Talking Books. So today I'm going to interpret this book for you called The McKinsey Way. Oh, when it comes to McKinsey in the management consulting field, it's super prestigious. Founded in the US back in 1923, it's one of the top consulting firms globally. McKinsey has offices in 84 countries, and their clients, include lots of Fortune 500 companies and even national governments. They've got nearly 10,000 consultants around the globe, and most of them are from Ivy League schools. McKinsey was named by Forbes magazine as a world-leading firm. Right now, over 200 CEOs from companies worth more than $10 billion are McKinsey alumni, and big names in management like Tom Peters, Kenichio Mae, and others were once consultants there too. Oh, from the outside, it seems that after just 3 to 5 years at McKinsey, a top performer can land a high-level executive job somewhere else. So, what's McKinsey's secret sauce that turns a young person with zero management experience into an expert who tackles complex problems so fast? Well, today in this book, we've got the answer. The author, Ethan Russell, graduated from the famous Wharton School. He worked as an equity fund manager at Mercury Asset Management in London and was an investment banker before that, then joined McKinsey and became a seasoned management consultant. Russell put his McKinsey experiences into 3 books: The McKinsey Way, The McKinsey Mind, and The McKinsey Tool. Once brought to China, these books got a recommendation from Tsinghua University's Center for Leadership Research, and The McKinsey Way is the core theory behind the series. An American entrepreneur joked after reading this book, with The McKinsey Way, it's like having a McKinsey expert right there helping you, and you don't even pay the fees. The book has 5 chapters that show how McKinsey consultants approach and solve all kinds of tricky problems. Today, I'm going to cover the key points in 3 parts for you. First part, what's McKinsey's approach to thinking through problems? Second part, what are some daily work tricks at McKinsey? Third part, how does McKinsey pitch their solutions? All right, let's start with part 1. So, what is McKinsey's approach to problem solving? Russell believes McKinsey's problem-solving method has 3 steps. First, define the problem. Second, break it down. Third, develop an initial hypothesis to solve it. All right, let's look at step 1, defining the problem. Usually, during first meetings, companies throw consultants these super vague issues. It's like a patient going to the doctor saying they feel awful but having no clue what's wrong, maybe guessing it's flu. The doctor can't just prescribe based on the patient's guess. They need exams to find the real cause. Same with consultants. The first thing you got to do is define the problem. What's the actual issue that needs solving? Sometimes companies say problem X, but the real issue is Y. Totally different things. For example, once a manufacturing firm asked McKinsey to evaluate expansion for a department. But McKinsey found the real problem wasn't expansion, it was how to shut it down ASAP. So how do you define problems precisely? Russell says, base it on facts, analyze tons of data to find what truly impacts the issue. For consultants, this fact-based approach is like armor for self-protection. Imagine you're a consultant facing seasoned execs. How do you make them trust you know more on day 1? The best way? Speak through data. Like discussing food, you don't just praise looks or taste, but dive into ingredients, origins, and culinary culture. When you share knowledge others lack, they'll trust you're the real expert. So to summarize step 1, define the core problem first. This focuses your next steps. And it requires gathering tons of facts as your foundation. Facts not only define the problem, but build instant trust with executives. Now, moving to step 2, breaking down the problem. Here you'll use the McKinsey principle as your first tool. McKinsey stands for the first letters of mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. The book explains it as Mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. Mutually exclusive means the subproblems don't overlap. Collectively exhaustive means the subsets are as thorough and comprehensive as possible. In other words, it means breaking down a complex problem into several subproblems. Typically, a complex problem can be broken down into 5 subproblems, and these can be further subdivided. Through this process, we end up forming a tree-like logical diagram using the McKinsey principle. First, to think about the problem more efficiently and comprehensively. Second, the breakdown process helps us find key factors more quickly. If you're the owner of a decor company and want to increase sales, you can break it down into smaller parts, like changing marketing or retail strategies, reducing unit costs, or improving how you sell to customers. List them separately, and so on. As you keep breaking down, the problems become more focused, turning a big, tough issue into smaller, solvable ones. Ultimately, you'll find that increasing sales might boil down to specific practical issues, like whether to add promotions next quarter or hire more sales staff in stores. To summarize, after initially defining the problem, use the MECE principle to break it down. You get a list of issues, forming an inverted pyramid tree structure diagram. During the breakdown, keep asking yourself, have I considered all possible factors? Are there any overlaps or redundancies in the subproblems? The MECE principle is a crucial logical thinking skill. Most problems in work and life can be structured using MECE to form a list, and practicing it builds logical and problem-finding skills. Once you have the MECE list, you move to step 3, developing an initial hypothesis. Hypothesizing is a method where the outcome guides the process. In simple terms, after breaking down the complex problem, you need to evaluate and predict the solution. So, Stephen Covey also mentioned this begin with the end in mind concept in his bestseller, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Like, say you make egg tarts for your family based on experience, but find they're not as sweet as expected, then you'd think, maybe I didn't add enough sugar. Next time, I'll adjust the ingredient ratio to get the desired result. That's an initial hypothesis, whether based on experience or facts. But remember, an initial hypothesis isn't the final answer. It's just a proposal needing verification. Only when the hypothesis withstands scrutiny can it become truth. Russell says to form hypotheses. First, research industry materials for key info like jargon and current trends. Also consult experts or practitioners in the field to learn more. With background knowledge, analyze the collected facts. But how to analyze? Russell advises, focus only on info related to key drivers. No need to analyze everything. So what are key drivers? Using the 80-20 rule we all know, 20% of factors typically drive 80% of results in any problem. Those 20% factors are the key drivers. For example, in farming, weather often affects both yield and costs, making it a key profit driver. And so we focus on improving weather risk management. Finding key drivers simplifies complexity for efficient solutions. After forming hypotheses via key drivers, verify them. Like checking your roadmap before a trip. Is it reliable, optimal, covering all key drivers? Just like double-checking exam answers, it's professional responsibility. To summarize part 1, McKinsey's thinking process starts with gathering facts to define the core problem. Second, use the MECE principle to break down complex problems step by step into smaller, solvable ones. Third, develop a hypothesis and continuously test it against facts to refine your approach, ultimately solving the problem. After covering part 1, let's move to part 2. What daily work tricks do McKinsey consultants use? First technique, wisely leverage predecessors' experience. We live in an era of exponential information growth. Many problems already have solutions before you encounter them. So, when facing a problem, first check if predecessors have solved it. The author mentions McKinsey has an electronic database called PDNet. This database is a treasure trove left by McKinsey veterans packed with project reports and internal studies. Most rookies can find similar solutions they need by leveraging predecessors, accumulated data, and experience. You save time and dive into research faster. McKinsey also has expert teams. When unfamiliar with a field, consult specialists to quickly gain domain knowledge. Good mentors are rare. Fully utilize resources like company databases, research reports, training manuals, or senior colleagues. Additionally, tap into industry journals, data packages, the internet, and other channels. After all, time is limited. Don't reinvent the wheel alone. Moving from the first technique to the second one. Second technique, understand companies through their annual reports. To quickly grasp a company, first get their annual report. Financial data holds tons of insights. After getting the report, skim sections like shareholder info or the chairman's letter. Don't underestimate these easily overlooked parts. Through these, you'll see the company's past performance and leadership's vision. Second, focus on financial metrics to understand fiscal fundamentals. Because finances are a company's direct barometer, pay special attention to numbers. They directly reflect company status. Key insights often lie in financial statement figures. Third is spotting outliers in data. Simply put, values performing exceptionally well or poorly. This requires comparative analysis within similar categories. For example, when collecting a company's sales data, say each rep's 3-year average, input it into a spreadsheet and sort high to low. The highest and lowest figures here are likely outliers. Once you spot outliers, identify their causes, like sudden quarterly sales drops, abnormally high costs in specific processes, or one sales team accounting for over half the total revenue. These outliers become breakthrough points for solutions. Remember our fact-based principle? These numbers are exactly those crucial facts. After those analytical techniques, the book addresses interpersonal skills. Russell shares McKinsey's interview methodology divided into 3 phases: pre-interview, during, and post-interview. First, before interviewing, meticulously prepare an outline. 1. Use the outline to clarify core questions. Second, and most crucially, define the interview's purpose and why you're meeting this person. An outline ensures you handle surprises smoothly. Um, Interviews involve uncontrollable factors that can derail you. An outline prevents tangents, helps find entry points, maintains focus, and ensures efficiency. During interviews, always start with general questions, industry overviews, development goals. Never dive straight into sensitive topics. Interviewees know McKinsey's solutions may impact their interests. Aggressive questioning makes them nervous, yielding useless information. Use techniques to gradually engage them and build rapport. Post-interview, try the Super Columbo tactic. This comes from Detective Columbo, who'd pretend to leave after interrogating suspects. When reaching the door, he suddenly turns back and says to the suspect, "Sorry, I just remembered a question I forgot to ask." Right when the suspect feels relieved, the sudden question makes them give instinctive answers that often reveal the real culprit to Detective Columbo. Similarly, normally after an interview, the interviewee will relax their guard. If you want useful information, the Columbo tactic is a great method. Wait a day or two after the interview, pretend to drop by, and tell them you suddenly recalled a forgotten question. This also makes you seem less aggressive, helping you get the info more easily. After the interview, we should thank the interviewee. At work, we face so many people daily. A little courtesy can build long-term connections, and such small gestures often bring unexpected rewards. And that wraps up part 2. Finally, let's look at part 3, how McKinsey promotes its solutions. The author says in the book, no matter how perfect your solution is, if your client won't buy it, it's worthless. So your work results only get seen and recognized when presented properly. So how do you do a presentation? Prepare in 3 ways. First, systematize the presentation. meaning create a hierarchical, easily accessible logical framework. Russell says a successful presentation must make the audience grasp your logical flow. Speaking of which, there was a very interesting 30-second elevator principle. Imagine meeting your client or boss in an elevator with only 30 seconds together. At that moment, how do you clearly and accurately explain your solution to spark their interest? This tests your logical clarity. First, distill your final point and directly state the problem's outcome. Second, know your solution inside out and clearly express the key drivers. Get these right. Most people will then want to hear more about your solution. Second point, remember the phrase, the marginal benefit of effort diminishes. Russell asks a question here. Do we stay up all night with the team when a project's due tomorrow? But following McKinsey's approach, we should change this habit because at this stage, the team should focus on key drivers. If the written proposal's done, let them rest properly. That's far more important than nitpicking for minor issues. Way more important, Russell gives a principle. Finish basic prep like printing materials at least 24 hours before the presentation, saving time to adjust and anticipate surprises. The third prep step, communicate early, prepare for rain before it falls. As mentioned earlier, McKinsey projects often affect stakeholders' interests. Imagine you're a consultant proposing budget cuts. Immediately the room buzzes with chatter. At that point, your presentation could turn into a shouting match. To avoid this, persuading relevant departments to accept the plan early is crucial. Early discussions let stakeholders mentally prepare. Avoid blindsiding them in meetings. Nobody likes being notified passively, right? During actual presentations, McKinsey uses charts as core communication tools. McKinsey charts prioritize simplicity, unlike today's flashy PPTs. They believe complex charts weaken message delivery. Charts are tools for expressing ideas. Never treat them as art pieces. Thus, McKinsey charts have three features. First, usually printed in black and white. Second, avoid 3D graphics unless absolutely necessary. Third, insist on the key principle, clarity of intent. The first two are visual considerations. Don't let complex colors or misleading 3D overwhelm your core message. Clarity of intent influences the audience, helping them focus on what the image conveys without missing the point. Since chart info can be complex, use concise titles to express the chart's viewpoint. Finally, to avoid dryness, support your points with evidence. A clear presentation will shine through. Russell also shares internal communication and client collaboration techniques, like McKinsey's team messaging system, ensuring all members stay informed for transparency and purpose awareness. Second, keep supervisors updated about team activities to maintain control. This engages their support and leverages their expertise during crises. And lastly, Russell states, clients are McKinsey's lifeblood, the water sustaining its operations. When working with clients, find mutual interests to align goals, turning our objectives into theirs. Make them understand McKinsey's solutions solve their problems and deliver benefits. This is what we call win-win. For uncooperative stakeholders, don't stress, invite them into the project process. Participation implies endorsement and secures needed resources. Similarly, regular client meetings demonstrate our commitment to their interests. Involvement makes clients feel invested in the success. This sense of achievement motivates clients to champion your proposals externally. And that concludes our interpretation of the McKinsey way. Let's briefly recap. Part 1 covered McKinsey's problem solving, fact-based problem definition, MISI, breakdowns into tree diagrams, then hypothesis formulation around key drivers validated with evidence. Part 2 discussed daily methods, leveraging predecessors' wisdom, annual reports, data mining, and interviews. Part 3 covered solution pitching, logical frameworks, stakeholder pre-briefing, and concise focused reporting. Truth is, McKinsey's methodology isn't mystical. It's about disciplined analysis, when tackling challenges, seeing through appearances to grasp the essence. In The Godfather, there's a line: a person who sees the truth in half a second and one who never sees it in a lifetime are destined for completely different fates. Hopefully, the McKinsey way helps you quickly and efficiently see to the heart of issues and solve all kinds of work problems. Um, all right, that wraps up our interpretation of the McKinsey way. The reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.